Megan is in a good mood because 3 nice things happened to her on the same day, but Konrad is on hand to ruin the good vibes with some news. There's an election in Saxony-Anhalt to catch up on, some chat about why East German kids still feel East German, and Health Minister Jens Spahn does the cuntiest thing he's ever done. Vax it up!
Hello everybody, it's time for another episode of Megan's Megacan. I'm Megan. I'm here with ex-Berliner Magazine and Konrad Werner. Hi, Konrad.
Hello.
It looks like I startled you there, which is weird because I've been asking you, are you ready to start for ages? And you were like, yes. And then you were doing something on your computer.
I was just getting all my articles in order.
Getting your ducks in a row.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
How's your day been?
Lovely, yeah. I sunned myself on the balcony.
Did you know? The
Yes.
weather is gorgeous.
I took my shirt off in public for the first time.
Is your balcony public?
Well, it's not exactly private.
Yeah, okay.
In the open air. I took my shirt off in the open air
Well, that's
for the
good.
first time in probably a year. And I discovered that that sun cream goes off.
Yeah, apparently so.
It has an expiry date.
Yeah, as someone who uses a lot of sun cream from like April to October,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had some sun cream that went off 15 months ago, so I
Oh.
had to throw that away. All right. Anyway,
All right.
not very interesting.
Yeah, I have some. I don't even know how to tell you this, but I have discovered not one but 2 new Megacans. This is not a drill. I think it's for the summer, or they just know that we've really suffered enough. And I feel a bit wary about this because I feel like I introduced the last new one, and then my friend Gemma, who's the only other person who maybe knows more about Megacans than me, she was like, that's not new. I was like, oh, but these I'm pretty sure are. I've only seen them in Edeka so far.
And are you sure they're not like special summer novelty editions?
Well, this one is a limited edition, so maybe they are, but they're definitely new. They're not just in a different can.
Okay.
So, we have, in a nice sort of mustard coloured can with blue, Johnnie Blonde and Lemonade, blended Scotch whiskey and lemonade, or in a very similar can to the one we were describing last week, but it's got peaches on it instead of lemons, Jim Beam peach and ginger ale.
I've got it. I'm going to have the blonde one.
100% I knew that's what you're going to do because I'm excited about a new Mega. I'm not sure about this peach thing. I don't even like peach iced tea.
Yeah.
But
This is pretty cool,
This
though.
is very exciting.
Yeah, Johnnie Blonde.
What does Johnnie Blonde mean? That must be a kind of...
Well, I think it's like a...
So for women, a women's whiskey.
Well, or for blonde people. Well, it's blonde with an E, so it is the lady version of blonde.
Oh, God. Right. You have to smell it. You have to if it's a new one.
Okay.
It smells like peach, actually. I'm not going to lie. Like those delicious Haribo peaches.
Oh, yeah. Mine smells a little bit like honey.
Well, that's good because usually they smell of chemicals and car fumes.
Yeah, I mean, not the proper, organic honey that you get from the shop. It's
No,
it's just
fake honey that's just been introduced to bees.
yeah.
Right. First sip. Tastes exactly like those Haribo peachy things.
Well, mine is definitely good. I can taste the lemonade. Apparently there's whiskey in here too.
Let's go again because I can't taste any whiskey either.
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, the second one had I felt like a more pressure on my tongue. I felt like
I can feel there's
just
some
like
kind of whiskey in here, but I think what we're
pushing
dealing
the
with
center
here
of my
is
tongue.
definitely drinks marketed to people who don't like the taste of alcohol.
I wonder what Johnnie Blonde tastes like without lemonade. That's what I'm asking myself now because I'd like to be able to separate the tastes.
I don't even know what's in this. Like peach and ginger ale. It's
any alcohol with peach in is something that I associate with being like 16.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that very much because I have really not been able to drink any peach alcohol since New Year's Eve 2003, I believe.
So this
No,
is your second
2002 going into 2003.
Right. And here you are.
And here I am. But the problem is, it's the
later.
peach and the ginger ale. And what I'm identifying as a little bit more of something that's not just overly synthetic sweet peach. I was thinking that was a whiskey, but maybe it's the ginger, in which case there's no whiskey. But
I don't
it's
know.
a Megacan. It's new. It's summery.
Yeah.
I think people who like sweet things are going to love this. Very classy looking can, I think, for what's essentially a very basic drink.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I really can't stop thinking about our mint julep Megacan idea. Guys, come on.
I know that would be
Particularly whoever is behind the Captain Morgan Mojito should get on that. Not the Bacardi Mojito. Remember, if you're looking for a summer cocktail Megacan, Captain Morgan Mojito.
I mean, there must be all kinds of possibilities.
Yeah, there is, but they're shite. We've drunk them all. Like,
Are there any
possibilities for the future.
for Megacan? I mean, there must be a Megacan with Capri Sun in it or something.
Do you think there's loads of megas out there that I'm just not bringing you? I troll the place. Like, I go, like, Adic has a really good selection. The Real that was at Neukölln had a really good selection. But, like, trust me, we have tried almost all of, we've definitely tried all of the, like, normal and brand ones. There's a lot of kind of, like, energy drink ones which are disgusting. And there's a maracuja one, which I'm not sure I've had before.
Oh, I don't think I would like that.
No, but anything that looks like there's not a fucking mint julep already out there that I've just ignored because I'm like, I don't know. It's on the other end of the shelf. Trust me. I've been putting in the legwork.
Well, I've heard that alcoholics like to mix Capri Sun into their alcohol to make a kind of, improvised Megacan.
Isn't that just a vodka orange?
I think it's the cheapest possible way to make a vodka orange. Would involve
I don't like vodka oranges at the best of time. A screwdriver, because I think they taste of sick.
Well, outside Aldi on a 10 o'clock on a Monday morning.
Here. I remember
don't mind so much.
Going into a kneipe years and years and years ago and being like, can I have a gin and tonic, please? And for some reason, gin and tonic in a kneipe will throw them. Like, people don't drink it. I don't know. Maybe it's just like it's not a... Is it a trendy drink here? Maybe it is. I don't know. Because at home, it's just like everyone knows, like...
Yeah.
The guy looks at me and is like, oh, tonic. Oh, no. What about a gin Fanta? And I was like, absolutely appalled by this. I was like, no, and I ordered something else. And I was like, gin and Fanta? This man, how long has he been? Like, what? What a weird thing to say. Then I noticed at the other end of the bar, there's like the Stammtisch.
Yeah.
Lads drinking gin and Fanta. I mean, I've never tasted it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Right, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
So today has been a very exciting day for me. 3 great things have happened. And then now I realise I'm in such a high state of kind of like anxiety about the thing that I was like, oh, well, something terrible is going to happen. And I don't usually think like that. Anyway, I got a €5 rabatt on my sun cream, which is stupid expensive sun cream for people with like translucent skin. Then I found 2 new megas. And then, before that, I got my second vaccination.
Oh, great.
I got to go to the Impfzentrum. Again, I went to Tegel, and I can highly, highly, highly recommend it as an experience. It is clockwork. I know I complained a lot about the Impf campaign at the beginning because it did take a dumbass time to get going. But now, my theory is that the sort of German efficiency is no good at starting things. But once you get a system up and running, my God, it's unbelievable. It's more efficiency in that 40 minutes in there than I've seen in any institution on the Isles. Literally.
But those two things probably aren't unrelated, are they? The fact that they're nice and that it's efficient. I think a lot of the times the inefficiency comes from the fact that people are like unwilling to help.
Everyone is just friendly and lovely. The people who greet you from I mean, how much of a rundown do we really want here? But like, you get off the bus, you get on a shuttle bus, and there's like lads greeting you on the shuttle bus. The bus driver turned round and merrily said hello to us all. I nearly peed my pants. For people not in Berlin, like, bus drivers are just so grumpy here. They're campaigning now to not be allowed, because you're not allowed to go up to them anymore at the moment because of Corona. They don't want us to ever go near them again. They want those to stay up. Like, actual true story.
Yeah, it was probably a special bus driver. It was probably the
and then there's loads of lads
doing
the security bit outside, doing the car park and directing people into the BioNTech queue or the Moderna queue.
Yeah.
They're all kind of, I would say, Turkish, German folks and people from the Arabic countries. I think they're all like, hey, yeah, do this. Everyone's so friendly. And then you go in and it's all like club staff, people that would usually be working in clubs. So friendly, so happy, delighted to be searching people's bags, delighted to be waving people around. Oh, it's just lovely, but it's so efficient.
And
like
they congratulate you at the end.
Yeah.
Do you get congratulated?
I could just.
Like
then you go and everyone
well
is like
done.
these numbered seats, and then you go to numbered cabins to check your paperwork. And then you get like a pink or a blue card, depending on if you're BioNTech or Moderna, and then you get waved through. And then you go into little cabins and there's like a big display board saying to the people working there which cabins are full and also how much time people have been in those cabins. So the doctors know when to go in because the person's ready to be imphed.
Oh, right.
So lovely, so delightful. Then you go and after you get your vaccination, that's nice. I didn't scream this time. I was screaming with excitement, but I was excited. And then you go and sit down to check that you're not going to like have a terrible reaction. There's all these seats like 1.5 meters away from apart.
Yeah.
And literally today, there were paramedics going around, probably because it's so hot, with, I kid you not, silver trays with little cups of water on them, just smiling and offering them to everybody. I am recommending everyone to go and have this wonderful experience because you can now, because as of Monday, any kind of prioritization for vaccinations has been lifted in Germany. Quite a few states, I think, had already lifted it, but on Monday it became the federal like Verordnung.
Yeah.
You may be able to tell I'm slightly obsessed with the vaccination.
So how many people have been vaccinated so far in Germany?
Oh God, how many people? I don't know, but let's just talk percentage because I think that's what people, and it is getting up there. And I think I've said this before, but if people are not checking the INF dashboard every day, I'd really suggest that you do. It's fun and it's like nice at this stage of our thing to look at some figures that are not depressing. So 20.6 million have had the first dose. And in total 39.5 million have had the second dose. So we are so close to the 25% for both, and so close to 50%. I really want it to be 50%.
Why? Just because
I don't know.
like them?
I have to set myself these little milestones. I don't know.
Anyway, and you said how many people get immunized? What
9
is the
people per second. And if you go in the INF dashboard, it counts up how many seconds you've been on the website, and then it tells you. So in the 55 seconds I've been on this since I just Googled it, 546. Like, this is obviously statistically.
Right. And are these percentages, can I ask you something? Is that percentage of the entire population or the percentage of just the adult population?
This is, I believe, the Gesamt.
Okay.
Gesamtbevölkerung. So that's everyone.
Because that is a source of confusion, because I believe in the UK they just counted the percentage of the adult
of course
population.
They did, the fuckers. Because
Anyway.
then they can talk about their world-beating vaccine program that, oh, we're not actually going to let anybody travel. Boris Johnson has taken my family hostage. Bastard.
Literally.
They're not in lockdown, they're in a lock-in. The world's most depressing lock-in. Reminds me when this really coked up producer in Dublin used to like force people to have lock-ins at like a certain point in the evening because he was fucked and didn't want to go home. And he'd come out and be like, upstairs, you. I'm like, no, I have to go to college upstairs. Like, it's horrible. That is
They'd force you.
Boris Johnson.
That's
just
like,
coked up, shitty indie night producer.
That would be a hostage situation.
Anyway, I'm very excited about the things people can. I don't know. I'm sure people know how to do the bookings. Reddit seems to have a lot of things on it where like it'll tell you when appointments become available. You book it through Doctorlib, or you can call. They're very nice on the hotline. I'm not sure if they speak English, but I'm sure they do. Or
I'm sure they can manage.
Yeah, you can get by, and
yeah,
it's
excellent.
It's pretty cool, and I'm hoping for a big week. So we always break 1 million on Wednesdays, and for not last week but the week before we had Wednesday and Thursday both broke 2 million. We have 2 million days already this week, and Tuesday we just need 70, so it's updated every 24 hours. Not always regularly, sometimes it's very late.
So not only are you excited about the 50% rule, you're also excited about how many consecutive days Germany can get over 1 million.
It's in a week, right? So I really want a 3 million day in a week. I also think it's going to be Big Friday. A lot of this is to do not just the Impfzentrum and other practices, but now the Betriebs doctors, so the doctors attached to workplaces, so big companies like Siemens and whatever the hell else I don't know, Volkswagen, I'm sure, Impfing people.
Yeah.
They can do it. Yeah. So the fax machines, I'm hoping of,
whirring to life.
And Rheinpalatinate or whatever that ridiculous place is, are just like whirring into action, and we're gonna get over it tomorrow, and I'll be excited. And also,
people of Rheinland-Palatinate. Megan doesn't really think that the place is ridiculous.
No,
She
I'm
loves
talking.
it there.
Sorry, to be very clear. It's the English translation of Nordrhein-Westpfalz.
Can't be too careful these days.
Well, no,
Cancel
you can't.
culture.
No, cancel.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, I've just gone on a massive rant about vaccinations, and I am really excited about it. I'm also aware that we are grossly privileged here. I started then looking at the whole list today of world vaccine. Oh no, don't
get into that.
We can't really do much. Maybe donate some money somewhere or put some pressure on people to release these fucking IPs.
Anyway.
Yes.
Do you want some other news?
Yeah.
Last
Do you
week.
have an update from last week? We were getting excited about the election in Saxony-Anhalt.
Not only were we excited, we were worried because because the AfD and the CDU were neck and neck in the state of Saxony-Anhalt.
They were.
Which is one of the small states in East Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the polls were 28, 29%, 26,
both, and it was sort of going back and forth, and we were all peeing our pants.
And it would have been a seismic rupture in the German political landscape if the AfD had won.
It would be really bad for them to get a minister.
And then so the results came in on Sunday night, and now they've been updated. And in fact, what happened was that the CDU got 37%, and the AfD got 20.8%.
Jesus.
So there was actually 17 points to difference between the two. There are a lot of reasons for this.
Sorry, I was very excited when this came in, and now I'm just like, CDU 37%. Fuck. Well. Anyway,
so the AfD got beaten. The AfD got soundly beaten in the end.
Yeah. And that's always a cause to celebrate. So let's.
And it is a bit of a cause to celebrate because it was what happened was Rainer Hasselhoff, the state premier of the state.
Reinhard Hasselhoff.
Who was going
Rainer or Reinhard?
Rainer
Hasselhoff.
Hasselhoff, yeah. He was going into the election. He's the CDU leader and the state premier.
Yeah.
And he was going into the last days of the election basically saying, you better vote for me or the AfD will win. You know, he was like really, that was his whole election campaign towards the end because of this one poll that came out 2 weeks before where the AfD was slightly ahead. So he was like, well, you guys better vote for me or otherwise Saxony-Anhalt will go down in history, in infamy, as the state where the AfD won for the first time. And it seemed to work. Like it did seem to freak a lot of people out, especially older people, especially people in their 60s, especially women in their 60s and 70s and 80s.
Go the older women folk. That's awesome.
They all voted for the CDU. All the other parties. So as I mentioned, the AfD got 20%. Linke lost about 5 points, or about a third of their vote
because the
share.
Linke in the East, if I'm correct, has a little bit more of a foothold than in the other. It's not doing particularly well poll-wise at the moment, but they do have more of a...
Yeah,
they did maybe. Now they've lost that in the old East.
Well, they used to be the party that would defend the East Germans' identity, like the East German, like they would be like...
Well, they came out of the...
And they kind of came out of the SED, so of the Communist Party leadership. So a lot of older people voted for Linke there for that reason. I mean, that's probably not true anymore. In any case, it's definitely not true now because the Linke lost a lot of votes and went down to 11%. But that was enough to give them third place. SCBD, Greens, and the FDP were all down in the one figures, 8%.
Okay.
For the SPD, Greens 6%, and the FDP also 6%, slightly more. And I think in a way it's quite an encouraging result because I think that Rainer Hasselhoff's stance was very much like, whatever happens, I am not going to join a coalition with the AfD, and you better vote for me because there is that section of the CDU in the East which is slightly more open to the idea of a coalition with the AfD, and that section has been beaten because they've seen that Hasselhoff's strategy really worked. You know, it's like said, I am the...
Rather than saying, vote for us, we're AfD light, vote for us, otherwise they're going to get in.
Yeah, to maintain the democratic standards and the democratic centre. But the shocking thing was, when they did all the analyses and all this other stuff, was that the AfD
would have won the election if only under 30s had voted. People under 30.
So my thing about like the really awful things that I say about older people not. Oh God.
That was.
What would they have won? What was the percentage of?
Well, it would have still have only been like 25%, but it would have been enough to win the election for the AfD. People were very shocked by this because a week before the election, there was a guy called Marco van der Witz, who is the German government's East German commissioner for the new states, as they call it officially. So, and he is from Saxony, and he said before the election that a part of the population in Eastern Germany were socialized during a dictatorship, so they don't understand democracy very well. And so that's why they vote for the AfD. And this obviously caused huge outrage and a lot of anger.
People in the East are pissed off because you talk about them like...
Yeah, like idiots who don't understand what democracy works.
This is going to be Northern Ireland in like 20 years. This is what this is going to be.
Yeah, that's sort of what it was like. He was just like really talking down to them and saying like, oh, the problem is...
like everyone loves the idea of a unified Germany whenever fucking the other Hasselhoff's singing about it.
So that and then a lot of people said, well, that was obviously not true because the people who voted for the AfD, it turns out, were the younger people who weren't even alive during East Germany.
What's the analysis saying about that? So it can't just be these are people traumatized by the communism regime. So
everyone did articles about this week. Why did young East Germans vote for the AfD?
Were you one of those people?
I was one of those people. They sent me over there. I went to Magdeburg, the capital of Saxony-Anhalt. Mm-hmm. It's got a lovely cathedral. It's a lovely place.
You were saying it was very big in the Middle Ages, which a lot of German towns are, and they're fun to go visit. And then you can find out sometimes what their old names were.
Magdeburg's also got some pretty bits, and it's an old medieval fort. And anyway, so I had to go there and talk to different people. I interviewed, amongst other people, a man called Jan Wenzel Schmidt, who is the head of the Junge Alternative, which is the youth organization of the AfD in the area.
What's his name?
Jan Wenzel Schmidt.
Right. What was that like?
It was kind of an intense experience. He's only 29. Well, the first thing about him is that he is going to be in the Bundestag next year. He's already going to stand as a candidate for the AfD, and he will almost certainly get in because he's number 2 on the list. Uh-huh. They have a list of MPs, with a proportional representation and everything. And he speaks in this very concentrated, intense way, very fast, very clear sentences, and looked me right in the eye. With these steely blue eyes.
A real zealot. Oh, Lord. Oh, no.
He was just it was quite an intense interview that I had with him. And he was explaining to me why, young people would vote for the AfD. Here's the thing. I should say the AfD youth organisation in Saxony-Anhalt is very small. It only has 160 members, even though they were very active during the election campaign.
Yeah.
But so it's kind of a tiny little thing. I mean, he said a lot of kind of racist, cliched stuff as well. But amongst other things, he was talking about how the lack of infrastructure in the East, and especially the rural parts of the East, has really has left a lot of young people extremely frustrated. Yeah. And he talks about not just like infrastructure like buses and trains, which is like he said this is true. There are some villages that only have like 2 bus services a day and stuff. And then during Corona times, that was even worse. Yeah.
Thuringia.
All right.
Thuringia, and which is not that far from Berlin, as Bundesländer go. And it takes her 5 hours to get home on the train.
Yeah.
With loads of different things, whereas you can get to Bayern in 4. Easy,
yeah, a lot of places are like
lemon peasy.
And the other thing is that the youth clubs, which were a big thing in East Germany and were a big thing in the 90s, and a lot of young kids used to go and you could play football, you could do theatre, and these have all been underfunded and left to rot. They've been cut down by the CDU government, and now there's hardly any of them left. And the interesting thing was, I talked to the AfD guy, and he said that. And then separately, I went to a guy from Miteinander, which is the anti-racism campaign. Yeah. I also talked to them in Halle last year. Yeah. And they organised the protests and the events around the Halle attack and everything. Yeah. Polar opposites of Schmidt guy, but he said the same thing. He said, people just feel really like isolated. And he also mentioned that the coronavirus had made this worse because like young people feel like they feel left behind by the politics because they still have to go to school.
This is what populism does.
Yeah.
Is that it steps in but the problem is, and this is what we're interesting, there's two things here. There's the really radicalized, like this guy who's going to stare at you with his steely blue eyes and really talk like the real kind of, and then there are just people who are super frustrated. It's just that same old story. Like populism steps in to fill that void, and everyone knows it's there and everyone knows that that's the problem. The thing that populism will do, however, is basically lie to you about the solution to that. And that's what makes them so appealing, because they just go, it's foreigners or it's the elite or whatever. But did this guy have then any, like, are there AFD policies to like deal with this?
The one thing that the guy for Miteinander was saying was that all you have to do is look at the AFD poster, which was it was just a poster with two red arrows on it pointing to the other posters, pointing up to the other posters. So in this case, you could see, and it's just said on it, you had 30 years time, right?
Yes.
So it was like pointing to the other parties, whichever party was on the lamppost above it.
The liberal elites, the political elite, they're going to drain the swamp, are they? Because that went brilliantly.
So it was all like that, and he said that, and he said that was a very powerful message because it speaks to this emotion, this feeling of frustration and disappointment with what has happened in East Germany in the last 30 years.
And it's the same with.
And you don't have to make any promises. You don't have to make any say, oh, we're going to fund the youth clubs, we're going to fund the buses. You don't have to do that because you just have to communicate with that emotional.
Unethical, but this is just what they all do. Like, can we not make this illegal? No, apparently we can't. They literally found out that Brexit was like used like fraudulent tactics. And yet here we all are, and my siblings are held hostage in that island.
And another thing is, this is quite interesting, is that even though like young people today in Eastern Germany still identify as East Germans, even though they never experienced it being a separate country.
Oh my God, this is just Northern Ireland. Oh my God,
this
is what our United Ireland is going to look like. Fuck.
And he was saying, this guy from Miteinander, he was saying, he says his own daughter, she's 18 years old, and she identifies as an East German rather than as a German. Yeah. Which is like really odd because she didn't even
But people
experience.
find that odd when people are not feeling integrated or when they feel excluded from a society, which is what they are. Like, it shouldn't be able to get a fast train to fucking Bayern when you can't get a few hundred kilometers away without 50 million changes and nothing works in your town and all the industry has been taken away. Like, everyone used to work in coal and obviously that cannot continue. But you can't just shut all the fucking coal mines and then be like, hey, how German do you feel? Reunification. Yeah. People are always shocked by this. Actually, weirdly, in the Abitur exam, which I think is problematic because you shouldn't put in a Berlin exam like random texts about really sort of scientific researchy articles about immigration in Germany and the stages of immigration, because not all students experience that, are going to be able to approach that text in the same kind of methodical way.
Yeah.
But that's a separate point. But they were saying in this thing that the research that they do on immigration is like people from immigrant communities or with migration backgrounds, as they call it here, still identify as Turkish or Lebanese or Syrian, whatever. But they will identify with their Bezirk. So they'll be like, oh, I come from like Köln or I come from Kreuzberg or whatever. And people are like surprised by this. I'm like, well, no, if you disenfranchise people, and then I never understand them. They're like, but why don't they feel German? I was like, because you won't let them fucking have like 2 passports. You make them choose.
Yeah.
Your integration is for shit. Yeah. And you can't even manage to do it with your own people that got like hijacked and traumatized by communism. You can't even do it with them. So
yeah, you're unlikely to do it with
the fuck should people from
Syria
from like Neukölln who you're literally killing in racist shootings all the time. How do I understand it? Like, why are people not doing anything about this? I don't understand. We've got so much money. I've just talked about all the vaccinations we're able to do. All of that money. Like, if you'd seen this system that was made up in Tegel, and it's in Impfzentren everywhere. it can be done. I don't know. This Megacan's very sweet. It was slightly reminded me of Archers. Sorry.
So there's that.
Sorry, that was me just like... And obviously, I'm not the only person to be making these points like it is. But it's just interesting thinking about it within the... By my own ignorance, I never really think of East Germany like so much, which is dumb because I'm in East Germany. But...
Well, you're not really. You're in Neukölln.
Yeah, but that was like the slums of West thing where they're just like, oh, can you just come over and like work for us for a while? Well, we're not going to give you any rights and we'll still call you fucking guest workers. What a fucking...
So can we talk a little bit about I want to just mention the demographics of East Germany. So Eastern Germany has lost a quarter of its population since 1990. And almost all of those people who have moved away have been young, well-educated people, and majority women. Like, women are more likely to move away than men.
That's interesting.
And I think that's probably to do with, because, like, women do better academically when they're earlier in life. And it might have something to do with that. Anyway.
Particularly in
but then,
not
also,
very well-off areas.
They often... Once they've been away for a few years, for like 10 years, they often move back to East Germany because they feel like, if they want to raise a family or whatever, they want to do other stuff, they feel more bound to their home a little bit. So actually, in some areas of Eastern Germany, people are starting to move back when they get a little bit older.
Yeah.
But this is from an economic perspective, is quite interesting. While like GDP is sort of catching up with the West, and average salaries are very close. Yeah. When it comes to fortunes, if you kind of like the individual, how much money people actually have, it's much less. Like there's the money that they've accumulated and inherited from their parents. Property prices
like
are still really low.
Snowball thing that happens, isn't it? So even though that they've been trying to catch up and stuff, there's still not this like, well, Daddy left me the apartment in Berlin, but my sister got the house in Munich. Kind of that doesn't happen.
So that disparity is much bigger. So the disparity between wages is about 15%.
That's really interesting.
But the disparity between individual fortunes is about 50%. So Jesus. So there's people, and you're much less likely to inherit money if you're in Eastern Germany. Yeah. So there's that. Anyway, so I think
we should all go on some trips. We can now. I really do. Erfurt is supposed to be beautiful.
Also, the other thing we should mention is that this isn't really just an east-west divide. It is also just a rural-urban divide. Yeah. Because people in the cities of Potsdam, Leipzig and Dresden, which are big urban centres in East, they've all got Green Party councils.
It's so funny to me that Potsdam is in there.
Yeah.
It's very hard. It's very hard.
It's the capital of Brandenburg.
Yeah, yeah.
And those places all got Green Party councils, city councils. Yeah. So people and they have
urban elites.
Yeah. Whereas the rural is all AfD voters. Yeah. Areas. Anyway, there's a little bit of demographics. I just think maybe we should
give everyone stuff so that everyone has time to like be a liberal elite and sit around drinking fancy drinks in tins and talking about politics and like thinking about stuff and then see. Just give everyone loads of money. Just universal basic income and then see what happens with politics. That'd be really interesting.
Right. One more story for this week.
I know sort of vaguely what's coming and I don't want to hear it.
This actually happened last week, but I wanted to mention it just because I wanted to see how you would react.
Oh, brilliant.
Basically, you remember...
Luckily, I'm drunk already. How's your Megacan?
Oh, nearly finished. I've got down to the last fifth.
Well,
I'm pretty good. It's not...
Very sweet, is it? Is it lemony or is it just like a spritey kind of a taste?
Yeah, I mean, lemon and whiskey isn't a traditional mixture, is it? I don't know. I'm not a mixologist like our friend Chris.
I used to drink Southern Comfort lime and lemonade. That was also be a good Megacan because it was very sweet.
But isn't Southern Comfort's not a whiskey?
I don't know. What is it though?
I don't know either.
But no, whiskey lemonade. I'm fairly sure I've known some people in my time who drink whiskey lemonade. But all right.
Anyway, Jens Spahn.
Oh god.
Health Minister Jens Spahn. He
looks like a cartoon figure, and I cannot work out which one it is, but I will, Jensi. By the end of this pandemic, I'll have figured it out.
At the end of this legislative period, because he might not be in office by September.
They still will. They'll do what they did in Saxony-Anhalt and vote CDU.
The Spiegel reported a couple of weeks ago that that the Health Ministry, when the pandemic began, the Health Ministry ordered €1 billion worth of masks from China when there was a huge shortage of masks, you remember, in the beginning of the pandemic last March. So they ordered all these masks. They were shipped over here and they were found to be not conforming to EU standards. Right, so he had all these masks, €1 billion worth.
€1 billion worth of masks.
Yeah, hundreds of millions.
And you
of
didn't
masks.
check if they conformed to.
Yeah, well, it was just like, oh shit, we better get some masks as soon as we can, because no one had any.
No. He's not like my dad, like trying to get some fireworks whenever they were legal in Northern Ireland. It's not like, oh, whatever you can get, it'll probably be fine. This is €1 billion worth.
Yeah.
Of masks.
So then this all came out. This all happened last year, but it came out last week, and it emerged that he realised when they arrived that he wasn't going to be able to use them, and he was like, "What shall I use them for?" And he came up with this plan to hand them out to homeless people.
You absolute cunt from hell, Jens Spahn.
And generally people on Heart Sphere, poor people, and he came up with this plan. I think I'll just hand them all out to those people.
Yeah, there was that thing of like you could get was these FFP2s or just probably the medical ones at this stage, eh?
I don't know. They were just masks. And so I was reading this interview today about one of the people who with one of the people who got these masks, and he said that they smelt funny. He was working in a I
mean, they all often do, the masks.
He said they smelled so funny
urine,
that
regularly.
Well, he was working in a I believe it was an old people's home, and he was given one of these low quality masks that didn't conform to EU standards.
I wonder if those are the ones the teachers got. Do you remember?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
They gave a whole bunch out to the state schools.
He said he couldn't use it after after an hour. He was like almost fainting because of the weird smell that was inside the mask. Yeah, it was really bad.
So he got €1 billion worth of shite masks.
Yeah.
And then
terrible.
decided he was going to give them away to the most vulnerable in society.
That's pretty much it, yeah. People, especially...
Do you know what you fucking do in that case, Spahn? That's the Bundestag's like fucking collection of masks for the duration, right? Because you can all fucking distance from each other, but you still have to wear masks, whatever. You don't give them to homeless people. Oh God. And this is a man who, in the middle of this pandemic, has, and I would say, bought himself a villa down in Dahlem, which is the fanciest, nicest part of Berlin. It's all like lakes and villas. But he hasn't bought a villa. His Sparkasse, it's not really a bank, whatever the Sparkasse is, but whoever he has been like banking with since they've fully financed it.
Oh, so he didn't need to put up a deposit on his villa.
Fully financed villa in Dahlem in the middle of the cunting pandemic.
Yeah.
And you're going to give masks? Get the Sparkasse to cover the $1 billion. And what is he saying? Like, what has he got to say for himself?
He didn't say anything. They had a special Bundestag debate about it, and he was present in the Bundestag, but he did not speak.
I'm sorry. What?
I don't know why. He just didn't speak. What?
What?
It's caused obviously a lot of the other politicians were pretty angry about this.
And he didn't, but why doesn't he have to talk? Like, I'm sorry, if I do a massive fuck up at work and decide to get my grade 7s, the littlest ones who have no power to speak up because no one listens to them, to just like cover for me, and it's found out, like, I don't get to just not talk. I don't need to just sit there in the staff meeting while everyone else. What? He
got Karin Marg, who is the CDU health policy spokesperson, to speak in his place. He just got her to speak.
And what did she say?
She blamed the SPD, probably. I don't know. For doing, for doing election campaign and electioneering or something.
What? They were only bringing this up to make points in election. No.
Yeah.
Jens, how fucking dare you?
She was like, she said, you're bringing this up to distract from your own very poor election results in Saxony-Anhalt. That's what she said this week to the SPD who were criticising
See,
her.
when you listen to these things like the Bundestag and you see the clips from it and stuff, because you kind of like, and particularly like the House of Commons and stuff in the UK, and you see these presidential debates in the US, and you're just like, I can't watch the because I'm like, of course it's fucked. Of course everything's fucked. These are idiots.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
You
it's
get
just
like
like, well,
one
they're just
decent person, a generation who goes into politics, and they're like, oh, they're unelectable.
Well, I mean, I guess it's the way that the political debates work, isn't it? It's like you never go on the defensive. You always attack. You always find a way to attack. You always find a way to
Right, wonderful,
not
brilliant.
answer the question.
That is appalling. That is coming from someone who doesn't know anyone on Hartz-IV, who has not ever really known anyone on Hartz-IV, who has never been on the U8 U-Bahn here in Berlin like over the last 15 months and have seen people, like, it's always a bit of a ropey, like,
Yeah.
U-Bahn line, particularly kind of in the middle. There's lots of the stations where people kind of maybe have their base, who are like houseless at the moment, and just seeing how people are getting increasingly desperate in these situations and increasingly more vulnerable and increasingly more agitated, and the last fucking and are still managing to like somehow source like FFP2s as soon as like the Verordnung come in and stuff, and those should be real masks. Like, if people are having to go and make their livelihood, I'm so cross, I think I'm gonna cry. Fuck you, Jens Spahn. Fuck you.
And that's all the news for this week.
Fuck's sake.
That's all that happened.
I was so happy at the beginning about the vaccination.
Ruined it. We should have ended with the vaccination talk.
Let's just do that. Can we just talk about Megacans and the vaccination numbers? And this is the thing. I very, very clearly want to state that this fucking vaccine rollout being so great has happened, I think, almost despite Jens Spahn. Like, do not let any of my praise of these amazing centres where everyone is working brilliantly, and like the fucking house, like doctors, the GPs had to beg him to be allowed to do this, and only then did it start picking up. So this is not like, this is him handing it over to people who fucking know what they're doing, and that's the only good thing that Boris did, which is why they had that amazing campaign, because he gave it to the fucking NHS.
Anyway,
I'm cross and my feet are swollen. I'm so angry.
Is that what happens when you get angry?
No, it's just hot.
Oh,
And like,
okay.
yeah, also, I don't know. Maybe it's the vaccine. Everyone was like, do not drink on the vaccine. I'm like, no medical professional. She sat down today. The doctor was like, no. And I was like, don't mention booze. Don't mention booze. Because a few people have been told not to drink for like a few days, which if I'm told by a doctor, then I won't do it. No, she was just like, if you get symptoms, you can have paracetamol. Don't take ibuprofen, take paracetamol. So I was like,
Okay.
I bought my 20 paracetamols just
like
before
one
I
of
went
those-
to get my megas.
You're like one of those people who buy cigarettes based on what health warning is on them. Like, if it's just like a...
Oh, yeah.
If it's
I
one
always
that's, if
have
it's
the
just a low
super
sperm
light
count, then you'll
ones,
just
yeah.
buy the low sperm count ones.
100%. That man who's
But-
like leaning up against a radiator because like he's impotent or something. I'm like, wow,
Get them.
I don't have a penis. Yeah, so no, it's fine. If no one's actively told you, you can bend that rule.
Well, that's the first thing that the woman told me when I had my shot of Moderna. She said, don't drink alcohol for 3 days and don't do any sport.
Yeah, but that's
I
what
wasn't gonna
doctors.
do,
So I've
yeah.
always had like quite a lot of doctors in my family, and that's just what they have to tell you.
Oh.
Like, is it probably better not to? Yeah, is it going to have an effect if you do? If you're going to feel like shite the next day with a headache?
Well, I took it
Why
very
not?
seriously. I was absolutely in repose
That's
for 3
good.
days. I lay.
And you got the Dollyvax as well.
I got Dolly Parton's special vaccine.
That's
Thank you
good.
very much.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. I hope everyone goes out and gets an appointment for their sexy vaccine. Go to the Impfzentrum, they're fun, but also I've heard of lots of people having very funny experiences at like the Hausarzt and the Kinderarzt. My friend was like, it was just a normal coloured plaster and no lollipop. It's like you're a grown man getting a coronavirus vaccine. All right, have a lovely weekend.
Yeah, you
Enjoy
can
the
afford
sun.
your own lollipop. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.